Nowadays, innovation is appreciated by everyone. The appreciation of innovation as a phenomenon is so strong that experts speak of a pro-innovation bias that gets us blind to any negative result or consequence of innovations. Even in case of fears related to the misuse of innovations, as for example innovations in biotechnology or artificial intelligence, we still appreciate any innovation as positive. But this was not always the case. Historically speaking, innovation was denied and fought against in politics, in religion, and in society. 1, probably everywhere. 2, probably by any culture. And 3, probably in every historical period. And even in the present, our appreciation to innovation in general does not mean that we adopt easily any innovation that changes our lives in ways that are not clearly useful or profitable, one way or another. So, resistance to innovation and change is the norm in history. We usually speak of this resistance as conservatism. In this video, I will not discuss the phenomenon itself. Instead, I will introduce you to one of its reasons by presenting a theory that might help any historian to better understand historical development, namely the theory of path dependence. Path dependence is a theory that originates in innovation studies and economics, but it might be a very creative way to study historical development. To explain the theory, I would like to start with a story that is related to the everyday life of all of us. The story of the QWERTY keyboard, the keyboard we all use in our personal computers. Well, most of you are too young to ever have seen one, but you know that before computers, people used to write in typewriters. The problem with typewriters was that after being struck, the type bars had to get back to their original position by gravity. When 2 bars were struck rapidly in succession, they jumped. So fast typists had problems. And Christopher Latham Sholes, the inventor of QWERTY, created a new keyboard that would solve the problem. This was in 1873. What he did was to rearrange the keys to minimize the jamming. In other words, QWERTY is a keyboard that was designed to be inefficient and awkward enough to slow down typewriting. Dissatisfaction with the QWERTY keyboard came about very soon as typists started suffering from muscular pain and tendonitis. And in 1936, August Dvorak, a professor of education, proposed a new keyboard after studying typewriting for a long time. The main feature of the Dvorak keyboard was the ergonomic placement of the letter keys, which made the keyboard more efficient, as typing demanded less movements and less pain and resulted in considerably less typographical errors. Since then, the Dvorak keyboard is an option. Indeed, it is possible to order a Dvorak keyboard with your new computer. But nobody does so. And now you can think, how is it so that almost a century later, everybody uses the keyboard that was created to cause problems and not the one that was created to solve them? The answer is exactly the phenomenon of path dependence. But what is path dependence? Among the various definitions you may find, I would like to use a rather simple one. Path dependence is a sensitive dependence on previous conditions, even if these conditions are no longer relevant. Let me try to explain. Every time we make a decision, we open a path. We design the path and we open it on the basis of specific conditions that are relevant at that very moment. Later, when we have walked some distance in the path, the conditions might change. The problem is that, for various reasons, we feel ourselves obliged to continue following the path. even if we realize that this is not any longer the optimal one, or even the right one. A lot of misery lives in marriages that seemed in the beginning to be perfect is nothing else than the result of personal path dependencies. Path dependence is not easy to fight. Our dependence to previous conditions that are not any longer relevant creates often a so-called history lock-in. In other words, a situation from which it is difficult to escape without a high cost, or at least without the investment of a considerable amount of energy. Let us now turn to path dependence phenomena in history. In history, path dependence is often related to the long duration of structures, practices, and mindsets. We will discuss in classroom the power that political, social, and cultural structures and suprastructures have in historical development. What I would like to underline now is that often not only we don't have the power to innovate these structures and suprastructures, but we neither want to do so. Sometimes it is even unthinkable to innovate practices, norms, structures, and mindset that have existed long enough to be omnipotent. Often, these undiscussable truths of the past are related to historical myths that might be national, religious, cultural, or of any other kind. And sometimes these truths are related to our identity, or they are criteria according to which any member of the relevant community is evaluated. The stronger these truths are, the more difficult it is to challenge the paths they are related to. In most such cases, it seems like the only alternative to simply follow the path. But it is not only because of that we have the tendency to follow the paths and be skeptical to innovations. I would dare to say that it is more a part of our nature to be conservative than to be innovative. As I said in another video, we innovate only when it is necessary or when there is a clear chance of any kind of gain in doing so. What is important for you as historians when studying any collective development in the past is to keep your eyes open for cases of innovation, resistance to innovation, and path dependence. Furthermore, you could even identify different types of path dependence. Focusing on innovation and path dependence will not only give you an alternative analytical approach, but it will make you more aware of the qualitative elements of the development you study. But we are not only historians. We are first and foremost human beings. And as human beings, we can only gain by reflecting on our own path dependencies. So, my dear co-humans, which are your path dependencies? Which are the things you continue doing if they are not anymore as positive as they were in the beginning because you are afraid of innovating the relevant parts of your life? And how could you fight these destructive path dependencies?